Okay, so to start with this ad, this one is going to be super easy. I'm just going to pull open my designs because I do need to find the image that I want to do for my Keller Mortgage campaign. So I'm in designs. I'm just going to bring in a new one and I'm going to pull from social because this is a Facebook ad. So we want ones that have been formatted for Facebook. So I'm going to go next. And then I don't know if you guys have explored your designs much, but there's a ton of things in here. And you even have a Keller Mortgage little category just on its own. So that's what we're going to pull from today. It should be under buyer and then Keller Mortgage. So I am going to format it to square. That's kind of just my preference. And really you could pull any of these that you want. I'm going to go for this one, the Your Dream Home is Waiting. So it's going to be super simple to use this. We're just going to hit the use button. And I actually don't even have to add in our logo because when I run the campaign, it's going to give me an option to add in the logo there. So you don't need to have it on the design. So Your Dream Home is Waiting. This is really all I need. So I'm going to give it a new name. And I'm just going to make sure that it is saved so I can pull it. And then in case something goes wrong, I'm going to have it downloaded just as a backup option. But if all goes well, I should be able to pull it directly into my campaign from designs. But I mean, I have it downloaded. I don't want to have to go back into designs if that happens. So I'm going to hit done. And then there it is. So now I'm going to start actually building out my ad. So I'm going to let that load. Maybe. I don't know what it is about 2 o'clock on a Friday that all of the technology decides that it's kind of done for the day. Okay, I'm going to go into campaigns. This is where all of your Facebook ads, direct mail campaigns, emails, social posts, all of those good things are held. So I am going to create a new campaign and I am doing a paid social ad. You do also have the option to do a paid Google search ad, but we're just going with a paid social ad today. I like to keep it kind of the same. I always do paid social and I always do Facebook. So I'm going to name my campaign. I'm going to go Keller Mortgage, and you do have to choose a goal. These don't really change the ad very much aside from advertised listing. That makes you pull in obviously a listing from the MLS. So unless you're advertising one, I wouldn't necessarily choose advertising listing, but you do have attract listings and attract buyers. So most of the time that you run an ad, that's probably what you're going to be going with unless it is an advertised listing. So I'm just going to stick with attract buyers since this is a Keller Mortgage ad. You have 3 options for running your campaign. You have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I like to just stick with Facebook. That's what they kind of see the best return on. So that's what we're going to stick with. I am going to set up campaign. And now it's time for probably the hardest part of the ad, which is actually building it out. And it's not that it's hard, it's just putting in your text. I always have mine ahead of time because I don't think it's beneficial to any of us for us to sit here and watch me try to figure out the text. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to go step by step, starting with the main copy. So that's going to be right here. So the inner text that clearly tells people about what you're promoting. It's going to update in live time. So as I start typing in here, or as I paste in my text that I already have filled out, it's going to update over here. So this is my preview. So I can switch between web feed and mobile and kind of get an idea of what the consumer is going to see once they see my ad. So let me copy and paste where my text is. Okay, so I'm going with the Keller Mortgage 0+ loan has 0 lender and origination fees plus $1,000 towards third-party costs on loans over $150,000. See if you qualify below and save some cash. So that is what I'm going with as far as text. You do have the options for emojis, which I am going to go with. I know that there is a down finger, so I'm going to go I'm actually going to do 3 of those. So, and you can kind of just search whatever you want. Usually if I'm doing one on listings, I like to kind of highlight, like if there's a pool, I like to find a pool listing. If there's a good backyard, I might search tree, a good, porch, maybe some coffee or a coffee cup to kind of show that, it's a good place to have your morning coffee. But we're going to go with the 3 down arrows and the house. If you've never taken one of my Facebook ad classes, I always like to reiterate that the entire goal of this ad is to get them to click this Learn More button. There's going to be a setting that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but once they click this Learn More button, they're prompted to enter their information and click to the next, click on so they get to your URL. Whatever they put in that form, as long as they submit it, that's what captures them as a lead. So really with these ads, they can be as beautiful as you want, but if you're not driving in what they're going to get by clicking Learn More, they're not going to be successful. So I'm going to leave this as is and kind of just, I like to use the down arrows to get to the Learn More. We're going to roll with that. Your headline is this bold text here. So it's going to be a little bit shorter than the main, and it's going to try to capture some attention. So I'm going with get $1,000 back at closing, really. Your description, it's only shown in some placements. So there's different formats of a Facebook ad, and this is only shown in certain formats of it. So I like to always put something that will add to the ad. I get that's redundant, but it will benefit it, but it won't take away from the ad if it's missing. So for today, I'm just going to go with find out more about Zero Plus. I always like to point out this disclaimer down here. These do have to go through Facebook's rules. They have to be approved by Facebook. You can't offend anybody. You can't really point out anything illegal. Obviously, I don't know what kind of ads you're running, but you would be, I like to just always point it out. Don't offend anybody. Don't offend renters. Don't call renters stupid and say you need to buy a house. Just kind of use your best judgment. But if your judgment's not that great, you can click through to these and kind of see some examples of what you shouldn't do in an ad. I'm going to save ad text because I think that is what I want to roll with. So my ad text has been checked, and we are going to roll on to add media. This is going to be the image for my campaign. So I'm going to select media. I'm going to pop over to add images because I didn't import a listing, so I don't get the chance to choose from the MLS. I can upload it here if I need to, but since I did mine in designs, I'm just going to browse design library, and it should be this first one. So I'm going to select it. Okay, I'm going to preview and crop image. And since this one is a square, that's what I pulled from designs, I'm just going to make it square and save it. So you do have the ability to do up to 5 images here. That's really good for things like when you're highlighting a listing. I'm just going to leave it simple and just do the 1 image for today's ad, or for next week's ad rather. This is what I was talking about. You do have to put in a logo. So that's why, for some of the designs, they do have an option for you to add in our logo. If you're choosing to use one of those for campaigns, which I recommend, I mean, they're there for you to use. It makes it definitely easy for you guys. I would just delete that out altogether because just by running the ad, you have to add in a logo. So that's what this is referring to. If you need a copy of the logo, you can just click there and it'll take you to KW Connect where you can download it. But you just have to choose if you want it to go on the bottom left or the bottom right. So I'm actually going to go with bottom left. I kind of like how that looks a little bit better. And then that is it for my ad media section. So I'm going to save ad media. And then our next little block that we're going to do is Facebook ad. So pages, like I mentioned, you have to have a Facebook page connected to your profile. So it's pulling in my account, but I need to choose which page. So Keller Williams-Fayetteville. And then that's going to update it to actually our information. Before it just said Keller Williams, it's just a generic one. But now that I've brought in my page, it's taken my logo and the page title. The destination. So pay really close attention to this question because it's really the most important part of the ad. The difference between these, so you do have the choice to use a Facebook lead generation form or to use a site or landing page. The Facebook lead generation form, when I mentioned that they click this button and they have to fill in their information and that's how you capture a lead, that is the only way to guarantee that you will capture leads through this ad. If you were to use the site or landing page, they're going to click learn more. They're going to go straight to whatever URL you have put here. And, you know, they're going to pull the information. They're going to look at it, do whatever they want, then realize they're not interested. If they close out, you're never going to know that they were even on your site and you're not going to capture them as a lead. So if you just want to guarantee that you get leads, I would use the Facebook lead generation form. If you want them to maybe just be able to click through and look at your website and hope that they remember your name one day, feel free to use a site or landing page. But what you're going to see when all of the numbers are kind of calculating for the ad, you're going to have a ton of impressions, a good amount of clicks, and 0 leads. Because when you're not using the lead generation form and you're just using a site or a landing page, it goes for impressions. So just how many people can see it. But that's kind of just up to you. I would rather guarantee that we're going to capture some leads. So that's why I always like to recommend the Facebook lead generation form. The button call to action. So I have never done an ad where I change this. Today is actually going to be the first one because we're saying, see if you qualify below. So I'm actually going to switch it to apply now. Follow up destination URL. So this is important for you guys to know if you do want to run an ad on Keller Mortgage. So you need a click-through URL. You could use your app link. You could use just your website. You could really use pretty much anything. I'm going to use the direct link to where they can apply for Keller Mortgage. So I'm going to show you how I get that link. I'm actually using Shauna's link. I'm going to just copy and paste hers in because she was kind enough to send hers to me. And I always mess that up. You have to get rid of the HTTP. Let me delete that out. Okay. I just want to make sure my URL is good to go. So I'll actually show you what that URL is going to go to if I paste it in directly. So it's going to pull you in. You have to accept the disclosures. So we'll say accept. But then it'll say my agent is Shauna Green down here. You will all have a personalized Keller Mortgage link. So I'll show you how to get that. But then they go through the I want to buy a home. What type of home. It's going to ask, you know, what will this property be used for? Do you have an address? And so forth and so on. But to actually get that, I am in Connect. So just kwconnect.com. This might take me a minute to get to the right place, but under resources, you have Keller Mortgage. So we're going to go in there. And Keller Mortgage resources, so education, marketing, tools, and testimonials. That's what we want to go to. And then if you are kind of new to Keller Mortgage or you don't know a lot of information about it, this is a really good place to go to learn. Trisha is also a really good resource. She's kind of the Keller Mortgage Pro. So if you have any questions, I'm sure she can answer them. But within here, so you can see I'm logged in. So it's going to pull whatever KW account you log into using Connect. Under Keller Mortgage settings, this is your personal Keller Mortgage link. So, I mean, you could use this for pretty much anything. It doesn't have to be an ad, but if you ever want, you know, you can do just a free social post. It doesn't have to be something you pay for, but you can use this link and it will take them directly to where they can start seeing if they're qualified for Keller Mortgage. So you would just copy, come over into your campaigns and paste it into your follow-up URL. Next is ad targeting. So it is set automatically, but you do have the option to change it. So if we toggle on use custom settings, I can change this. Right now it's Fayetteville, 20 miles. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to actually bump it up to 25 because I usually stick it to 20. So we're going to try something a little bit different today and just kind of see what happens. So, you know, whatever audience you want, if you know, think about what kind of ad you're running to. If you want to do an ad that's maybe targeting people coming to Fayetteville, you might be doing it somewhere else. If you're trying to target those who are moving out of Fayetteville, obviously you would want to use Fayetteville, but just kind of keep that in mind. You also have the option for expert targeting, which is optional, but you have interests in here. They've actually recently changed this. I don't know that I've played with it since they've changed it. I believe it should be the same thing, but I could come in here, search things like mortgage, and I can see what interests are available in here. So I'm probably going to choose all of these. I could search, we could search loans. Okay, so we already have mortgage loans. See what comes up for houses. My brainstorming behind this, there's not really any rhyme or reason to what I search. I kind of go based on whatever kind of ad I'm running. So it gives you an estimated audience, and it's designed to help target to those who would most likely be interested in things that are related to your ad. So you don't have to use this. Honestly, I've done ads both ways, and I'm starting to think that maybe there's not really much of a difference. But the thought process is don't think of it as limiting your audience. Think of it as narrowing down to those who would most likely be interested in this, who would click on it and you would capture them as a lead. So normally, you know, I've picked 12, 15 before. I'm just going to stick with the 5 selected, the mortgage ones I did. If you want kind of some easy ones, you can search like realtor.com. I just always advise you guys to use realtor.com and not something like realtor.com pro, because I don't think you want to capture realtors as your leads. Same thing with like Zillow. I would use Zillow, not Premier Agent. Trulia, same thing. And I believe there is a homes.com. Okay, there's just a homes.com, but kind of think about that. But I mean, you have everything from accounting to air conditioning to banking. You can search things like finance, investing. There's a swimming pool one on here, dog training. So I'm just going to kind of leave it as is. This can get kind of overwhelming. Don't get too hung up on this. I'm going to X out. I'm going to save my Facebook ad. You can see all of my green is checked. This is where we're at. This is my ad. So the last step is to do your duration and budget. So their recommended is 10 days at a budget of $1 per channel per day, which would take you to $30 total. Everybody kind of has their own opinion on what's beneficial. I know Nick Baldwin does a 5x5 where he runs it for 5 days and he does it $5 a day. I always do mine. I start on Mondays and I wrap them up on Fridays. So I always do the following week. That gives it 4 full days to run because I like to have my results on Fridays to share with you guys. If you're doing these on your own, I would recommend doing them over the weekend. Think about when people are on Facebook the most. I tend to get most of our leads at like 3 a.m. or midnight. It's very rare that we get them throughout the day. Most of the time I come in and log into my computer and we have 5 leads from overnight. So I'm just going to stick with that. That's just kind of what it is. And just how kind of we're set up and doing these now. I always do $20 a week, which puts me $5 daily per channel being Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So this is putting all 5 of my dollars a day per Facebook because that's the only channel that I'm using. I'm going to save duration and budget. Give this one last little glance, make sure that I spelled everything right. And I am going to, you do have the option to save as draft if you want to come back to it, but I will say if you do that and you've already set your duration, I would go back in and just make sure it has the correct days before you actually publish it. I found that it does kind of mess with them if you save it as a draft and then come back to it. But I'm going to publish campaign. I'm going to create campaign. And then I will show you what happens once you press that button and kind of explain a few of the other things on the campaign page. So you'll see that it is pending review. Once it gets approved and once it goes to active and it's actually running, it will turn green and it will say active. All of these numbers will update in live time. We spent $20 on this ad, but I want you guys to know that just because you spent $20 doesn't mean your $20 is automatically gone and you're kind of stuck with it if your ad isn't performing well. I want to show you this one right here, this free CMA one I did. I actually stopped this, I want to say 2 days in, maybe less than 2 days. And I stopped it when we had spent $8.69 because it was just not performing well at all. What happens to that leftover money? I did already pay for it, but it went back into my account as a credit. So it does take the money like daily. So you're not, you're not out 20 bucks if you start this and then your ad is running poorly. You can stop it at any time if it's not doing what you want it to do. These are going to update in real time. So you have a CPM, which is your cost per 1,000 impressions. That's not what it stands for, but that's what it means. So how much, like this one I spent $20 on, if I would have only spent $14.58, then I would have gotten 1,000 impressions. So that's kind of what that means. This is your cost per click. So for this one, my $20 ad, I had 88 clicks. So that brought me down to 23 cents per click. And then your cost per lead captured. So 6 leads for $3.33 each. It's kind of cool to see the numbers update. Like if I go back to this one, you will see that I was at $18.69 for 1,000 impressions. And at the time that I stopped it, I was at 62 cents a click, so 14 clicks. So it's kind of cool. I like the figures. I think it's fun to keep an eye on, and I like to see kind of what it does day to day. Other than that, are there any questions? Actually, I'm going to stop the recording.